Hi, welcome to the second episode of the Wildcast. My name is JP Alipio. I am an environmentalist, mountain biker, trail runner, photographer, and currently the director of the Cordillera Conservation Trust. And we are here to talk about people, their histories, what makes them who they are, and the journeys they have had through their life. Over the course of this series, Quarantine Chronicles, we will be talking to different people and personalities both here in the Philippines and across the globe on how COVID-19 has affected their lives, their businesses, and how we can all cope. I'm here to share their stories, their expertise, their lives. On today's Wildcast, we have a very, very special guest, someone who in the Philippines needs very little introduction, Howie Severino, award-winning journalist, documentary filmmaker, cyclist, cafe owner, kayaker, environmentalist, and just last week, one of the pioneer survivors for COVID-19 virus. The list is long, and this conversation only scratches the surface of who Howie is. This is the first in the series of interviews with Howie, which we will be doing over the course of the next few weeks as he recovers from COVID-19. He shares the whole experience with us today and shares a lot of insights that I think are important moving forward with this crisis. We will discuss his life, his rich experiences, and it's a lot. And if you notice in the first part of the interview, I was noticeably nervous interviewing someone I've looked up to for a very, very long time. He's one of the people I've come to admire and respect, and I wasn't sure going into this interview how it would all pan out. Thankfully, the conversation found its flow, and I look forward to having you all here, the first in the series of chats with Howie Severino. Enjoy. So, how are you? How are you? How are you now?
Ito, so meron na akong pamagat para sa series mo.
Okay, ano yun?
Quarantine Chronicles.
Quarantine Chronicles. Pwede, pwede.
Okay ba?
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
well,
pwede.
I'm fine. I'm okay. You asked me how I was.
Yeah.
I'm okay. I'm still recuperating. You probably know what I went through,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty hard. So, and I'm still recovering and waiting for the test result that will either confirm or debunk my previous negative result
Okay.
for COVID.
Mm-mm.
So I'm still here in isolation. My family's not here. They're in the
Okay.
province. I don't want to infect anybody.
Oh, so you're alone
But
now in Manila?
yeah, nasa Quezon City ako ngayon. Ikaw, nasan
Okay.
ka?
Nasa Trinidad. Sa Trinidad Valley in Benguet. So,
Kumusta naman ang problema dyan?
actually dito so far we're okay. I think we've had dalawa pa lang yung yung mga naging cases namin dito, and so far both of them have recovered. So, and then sa
Wow.
Baguio, which is right next door to us, they've had 15, pero lahat naman na yon recovered, and then there was one new one yesterday. So far that's been the update here. I don't think we'll be hit as badly as Manila. Kasi nga, siguro kung tinuloy nila yung Flower Fest, baka nangyari yon na dito would be another epicenter for the virus. But
Yeah, buti na-cancel yan. Alam mo, mahusay yung mayor niyo dyan sa Baguio.
oo, mahusay yung
May,
mayor.
parang meron siyang foresight. And he seems to know what's in the best interest of the community. Diba?
Yes, definitely. And also, they've set up, everything is completely transparent. Yung mga, lahat ng kanilang moves, actions, pati kung sino yung mga tao na infected, they've made people sign basically release forms para people in their families and communities know who they are, and they're easily contact traced. Tapos just yesterday, they found someone new who had the virus. So, pinalockdown niya yung 4 na barangay around that whole area. So, just so they can do contact tracing and all of that. So, I think
Yeah.
yung background niya as a CIDG chief probably helps. Being from the PNP, no? So yun yung
Tsaka
nakakatulong.
intelligent din.
Intelligence, yeah, exactly, intelligence. He was the head of the Mama Sapano panel, I think. At
Yeah,
that
I
point.
know. That's yun ang ano niya. That's his claim to fame nung una, no?
Right. That's right.
Wait, can I ask you something?
Yes.
What do you do in Trinidad? Like what do you do every day? I mean, anong trabaho
Uh,
mo?
well, actually, I'm the director of the Cordillera Conservation Trust. I know you've probably seen some of our events. We do the mountain bike race and the trail run. And what we try and do is to develop a lot of the remote areas here for adventure travel, adventure development. So part of the program of the trust is actually tinuturuan in partnership with the University of Baguio. We teach a lot of the communities homestays, basic hospitality, accounting, sustainable tourism, and then we do our events there, and it really drives the economies for adventure sports, basic adventure travel. We do a lot of yung trail run namin now has probably one of the most international races in the country. It's in a very remote village. So parang sobrang late lang. This
Saan?
sa Tinongdan, Itogon. So parang every year kami na yung isa sa mga economic drivers for the village. So the villagers all look forward to it. They make
It's a trail run.
Trail run. Yeah, trail run. May mountain bike din
Ilang
kaming ganun.
kilometro yun?
50 kilometers. 50 kilometers sa bundok. Yeah. Ultra marathon.
Wow. Hardcore, huh?
Yeah,
Hardcore.
so
Wait. Taga saan ka ba?
taga dito ako. My father is from here. This is our ancestral home actually, La Trinidad. So we've lived here. I mean, I've lived here all my life. My father's lived here. My grandparents have lived here, Trinidad.
Diyan ka rin nag-aral?
Oh, St. Louis, UP Baguio. Well, I was also in UP Diliman and then Ateneo. So mix of everything.
Yeah, so you moved around, huh?
Yeah, I moved around. Yeah,
Oh, that's good. Yeah, do you know Steve Rogers?
Yes, he's a good friend actually. We see each other in Sagada in fact, bago nangyari itong lockdown, I was supposed to go see him that week na nagka-lockdown. We were supposed to go kayaking and buti na lang di natuloy because I would have been trapped in Sagada.
Saan ang kayaking?
Sa Bontoc, Chico River.
Wow, okay ba mag-kayaking doon? Ano yung white water?
Yes, light white water. May parang different grades of white water in there. But I'm just a beginner, and si Steve is much more advanced. So I'm getting parang lessons from him, no. So
gaano kalayo sana yung kayaking trip?
Would have been at most maybe 5 kilometers lang yata, or maybe 10 at the most.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then ngayon,
downstream.
Yeah, downstream. Ngayon kasi it's dry season. So we're not really, there's not enough water to do proper kayaking. Yeah. So it's
but
just
you're
light.
You're mostly a mountain biker, no?
Yeah, I'm a mountain biker, trail runner. We did a few, maybe 12 years ago, we did the Pajak para sa Binhi. I know you've asked me about this before. It was a 24-hour bike ride. We raise funds for reforestation here.
What's the best mountain ride there sa Cordy, in your opinion?
Madami. There's a lot, but it depends, no? Parang in the last few years, we've actually lost a lot of our mountain biking areas because yung mayaman ng Pilipinas, sinesemento na lahat ng mga route. So our race, actually, yung Cordillera Challenge, we do it in Bocod these days. It's in Bobok Bisal. It's a really nice area, single track and dirt road that has no cars. Essentially, walang mga sasakyan, tapos pine forest. So that's a nice, maybe 30-kilometer mountain bike route. Yun ang parang friendly, it's near Baguio, it's beginner friendly din. Tapos maganda kasi pine forest, you're biking by the river, it's a lot of single track,
Nice.
few villages. So yun, yung race namin is also there in that village. So we've tried to develop their village also for homestays in the last 2 years. So that's where we do it, and it's a really nice little hamlet in the middle of nowhere, actually, in Bocod.
Sige, so I'll put that on my bucket list.
Yeah, for sure. Just let me know. I'll give you a slot. No, it usually we have it in May, but I'm not sure this year if we
Well,
can have it.
I don't want to race. I'm not really a racer, so I
Yeah.
like to stop and take pictures.
Yeah. Yung ano naman namin, parang sa amin the racers are only like 10%, and then we've really designed the course so people take pictures. May mga nagdadala nga ng drone, and and then of course you can go on regular days. Ngayon parang we've helped them set it up as a parang mountain bike area talaga. Yung barangay nandun na sila. They essentially they've really set it up already as a mountain bike. So you can register with them.
How do they earn from that? Homestays, ganon?
Homestays, food, that's what we tried and developed. So we teach people how to do the homestays, including the accounting, marketing, whatever, catering. And then the barangay earns through entrance receipts, essentially.
Okay. My user fee yung trail.
Yeah.
How much do they charge?
It's not much, actually. I think 30 pesos per person.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not a large amount. So what we really look into, I think for tourism in general, it's really, for us, it's more the homestay industry and the food, because that's where you can create more jobs. You can create a longer value chain for everyone, and it one of the reasons we do this is we move people away from less sustainable industries like commercial agriculture or logging, mga ganon. So in the areas we actually work, we've raised household income mga 1,000% in some areas. So that's at least for us, that's sort of our success when they're able to raise their incomes that way.
Okay, so you have a new project now, this podcast, no? Paano mo naman naisip ito?
Well, I would say parang dami ko kasing kilala din na interesting people like you. I know people from medical field, and now we have a lot of time. I've not been doing anything for the last 3 weeks essentially, and I thought parang there's so much information out there, and people's lives, more importantly, that we should be sharing with everyone. People like you, for instance.
Yeah. Well,
no?
Excuse me. You parang do you really need to be locked down there? I mean, there's so much open space in the Cordillera. Can't you walk around without infecting anybody? And diba?
Well, actually, in the mountains, yes. I guess parang pwede yun, no? Pwede to walk around without infecting anyone. But I live in La Trinidad, and Baguio City, it's a city. So to get to the markets, you still need to interact and all of that.
Anong epekto dyan sa mga mountain villages? Wala silang quarantine or lockdown, no?
Actually,
is it normal?
You'll be surprised. They lock down the villages then, which for me personally is a little weird kasi nga wala naman cases dyan, no? They can basically go about their lives as normal, and they're afforded space. Parang by the nature of where they are, parang socially distant naman na sila. They don't have to stay at home the whole day.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, some of them they have their homes are isolated, diba?
Yes. Lalo dito sa Benguet.
Can they still go to the fields and farm?
Yes, that's allowed actually by the rules of the IATF.
Wala lang mga kanyaw ganon.
Oh, yun. Bawal ang kanyaw, bawal ang weddings. Summer is the wedding season here. So, walang mga wedding ngayon. Summer is also the parang reunion season dito. So, wala lahat yan. Wala lahat yung mga ganong ano. Yun yung
Okay.
difference ngayon. I think probably for the small villages, yung magiging problem nila would be supplies. Kasi medyo limited din yung supplies at they buy from La Trinidad here and Baguio. So we're the parang frontier town to everyone north of here. So parang nung first week ng quarantine, traffic dito sa amin dahil sa dami ng mga nag-shop sa groceries and hardware stores from the mountains. And
Paano yan? Walang naghahatid, walang supplies ngayon sa kanila.
yes, wala silang supplies, but I think they've made an arrangement with La Trinidad and Baguio in particular na pinapayagan, I think may mga araw na pinapayagan yung mga certain municipalities to do their shopping. So naka-schedule, in a way so that they're able to get supplies and get back to their villages. Kasi essentially yung bigas, wala lahat yan doon sa mga villages except for the lowland. The lower valley area still have rice. Oil, salt, mga canned goods, mga ganyan. No? Those are things that they would normally buy. So maybe you could, how did you get the coronavirus? Paano mo nakuha? Was it through your work or?
I don't know.
Oh, really?
I really don't know. It's hard to tell. I wasn't exposed to anybody who I know who was a confirmed case. Alam mo, this is such it's so easy to get this virus, no? You could be infected without knowing it, and you could infect others without knowing it.
Right.
And I think most people who get it don't know. I cannot know for sure. I mean, kahit mag-contact tracing ka, and it's still fairly early in the epidemic and all that. Di ko alam kasi maaring yung naka-infect sa akin asymptomatic.
That's right.
Diba? So, I mean, my own family could be asymptomatic and infectious. So, it's really hard to know. That's what makes this really, really scary and
parang kakatakot kasi person like you would know how to basically socially distant, naghuhugas ka ng kamay, you're doing all of the precautions.
maaga pa lang, ginagawa ko na lahat yan. And I'm pretty physically fit, so
exactly, you're a cyclist, so
immune system should be pretty strong, and nangyari pa rin sa akin. So, I'm kind of a lesson not to relax too much, about the possibility of getting infected.
That's
so
right.
And you can get it from in other ways aside from people, no? The virus stays on surfaces. You can get it from door handles, you can get it from grocery carts, you can get it from money.
That's right. So maybe ngayon, lately I've been using actually my card a lot more rather than cash. So at least in the groceries na pwede yung card. So yun yung isa sa mga ginagawa ko ngayon. But yeah, kakatakot. Especially, yun nga, parang ikaw, as a person, you've been doing all of the precautions and still, nahawa ka pa rin. And that also points to a fact na medyo widespread na talaga yung infection sa Manila. Because as someone like you who's been taking all these precautions, you still caught it from something or someone who most likely didn't exhibit any of the symptoms.
That's right.
So how was the whole, I read in your article on GMA's page na parang you had one of the other patients parang ayaw nang pabalikin dun sa apartment niya and all of that. So maybe you can discuss a little bit of the how it is to be that COVID-19 patient. Parang may konting uh, I guess there's some social impact, no, on yourself and on the community around you.
Hindi ito konti. It's actually parang it's one of the most stigmatized, one of the loneliest diseases in human history. Right up there with leprosy.
Mm-hmm.
So you can just imagine how people react to you. It's almost a hysteria, paranoia, fear, dread.
Right.
There's so much unknown. Anybody can get it. Anybody can have it and infect you. So if you're a confirmed case, then wow, iiwasan ka talaga. But I think a lot of that is also based on ignorance, and I guess that's where people like myself can come in. I mean, I'm trained to communicate,
That's right.
and I'm trained to communicate to the public, and that's what I needed to do. Um, and whatever right I have to my own privacy is far outweighed by my responsibility to the public.
Mm-hmm.
So there are very relatively few of us recoveries, no, but and you don't hear about them. You don't know them. They don't come out like this. So a lot of what we've gone through is shrouded in mystery.
Right. And that adds
And
to the whole panic of everything and the whole lack
yeah,
of information.
yeah, mystery creates fear, diba? Parang
Yeah.
the great unknown.
Mm-mm.
So I think the more that survivors talk about it, um, the more information is out there, and the less mystery there is, and the less fear.
Yep. And also less isolation for people like you, no? The other survivors and other people who are afflicted with this disease.
Yeah, uh, yeah. Although I know only one other person who has recovered, so it's a very small community.
That's right. That's right.
People who know who know what it's like.
But you
I'm patient 2828. So imagine out of over 100 million Filipinos,
right.
uh, there are less than 4,000 who have gotten this. But that's just a barangay.
Exactly.
So
But that's only
you
the
know,
number we're counting, no? So I'm sure there's more out there asymptomatic or uncounted cases, especially in Manila.
yeah. So well, those cases, yung 4,000 cases na yan or so, that includes people who have already died. And a lot of those people are still confined. A lot of those people have not recovered. So people like me who are on the mend, we're even fewer.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, people who are patients who are sick in the hospital, you don't expect them to talk about this.
That's true.
So yung pwede yung magsalita tungkol dito, I don't know. Well, the, I think I'm the only person who's actually written about the experience.
That's right.
I
I think
can't
you're the only one I've actually read.
I can't recall. Yeah, yung iba, they they
They've
they
announced that they have.
they've announced it on Facebook. They say that they've recovered and they're thankful and all of that. But the specifics of their experience, they're keeping it to themselves mostly. So it's hard to know what kind of hardship they went through and what they were feeling and
Right.
all of that, the impact on people around them.
Can you
So,
maybe take us through that experience?
well, it's a long story. Do you have any specific questions in mind?
Well, well,
I don't want to bore you with all the details.
of course, of course. So, how did you first feel? Like, what prompted you to go to the hospital? That that.
I had a fever for a week,
Oh, okay.
and then I had a checkup at St. Luke's, and my X-ray found pneumonia.
Okay. And how long from that
And
point were you tested?
the same day I was tested, and then the next day I admitted myself to a hospital, and then 2 days later they confirmed that I was positive.
Oh, okay. So at least the process was a bit faster than usual. No, normally it takes more than 2 days.
Well, they were telling me 10 days. No,
Right.
that's kind of long. I think in my case, I'm trying to maybe 4 days. 4 days, yata.
Okay, 4 days.
I gotta look at my calendar.
And then, were you immediately put on oxygen or pronated or any of
I
those?
had some oxygen. I had low oxygen, so I had oxygen for a day. But I wasn't. It wasn't a ventilator or anything major like that. So I had pneumonia, so I got a lot of antibiotics. They put me on chloroquine.
Chloroquine, yes. That's the malaria
Yeah,
drug.
it's kind of controversial treatment for coronavirus for COVID
Right.
because
No,
it hasn't gone through clinical trials for this disease,
parang they're
and
just
so there are
throwing it.
still a lot of doctors who don't believe in it. But my doctor believes in it, and it worked. I think it worked.
And they
I
also
took it
gave you
for
antibiotics for any other bacteria that might infect you.
yeah, because I was pneumonia is kind of dangerous,
Of course.
and kung kumalat yan, that could also kill me. So there were quite a number of dangers. No? So there's that, and then there's the virus, and um, and then the whole mental thing was also kind of getting me down.
And were you in a private room or in a ward?
I was in a private room. I was in isolation
Okay.
for a week. I would
So
only see nurses in these space suits, and I couldn't tell them apart. No? So it was
that's
kind of
right. No, that's also something that parang adds to the whole isolation part of this. No,
yeah,
you're
yeah,
you're
yeah,
all
yeah. But
alone, and then you don't even see the faces of the people treating you.
yeah, but you can talk to them. They're human beings. They're not robots, and I got to know them as well. It hardly mattered that I couldn't see their faces
Right.
because I knew their names, and I asked them about their families and their lives and how this whole situation was affecting them, and I got to know them as people.
Okay. Okay. And I know this is very difficult for doctors, and like you said, you got to know them as people. My brother is a nurse in Colorado, and my cousin who lives in the same compound as us is actually a doctor at the Benguet General Hospital. So we sort of know the effect on families because my cousin we've not really seen him for the last 3 weeks. He's been staying away. Um, I know a lot of other medical professionals. They go home, parang may bath na sa labas or dire-diretso na sa banyo. Did they tell you any of the stories that they've had to go through coming home from work every day?
Yeah, well, una kinatatakutan sila, no?
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
They're not really welcome in a lot of places, And of course, they live alone now. They can't live with their families. The families are away.
Right.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's very difficult. And what they're doing. They choose to do that. Oh, I didn't choose. I didn't choose to have this disease. So those guys, they're 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 heroic.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. They're on the front lines voluntarily. They don't have to be. I mean, they could lose their lives. A lot of them have lost their lives.
Exactly. Parang, have you discussed with them any? Parang, I've read a few articles where some doctors now are starting to just stay at home. They're not coming to work because of the risk of the virus. And is this something that they're thinking of or considering? I mean, at some point, medical professionals will be considering this for their family's sake, for their own sake.
You're asking me?
Yeah, I mean, have they discussed this with you, or is it something?
No. Everyone who saw me in the hospital were pretty committed people.
Right.
They were not considering quitting, or they didn't tell me.
Yep. I mean, it's a really brave thing, especially ngayon, di natin alam eh. It could be in the air, it's on surfaces, and sila, kumbaga yung dosage nila ng virus mataas, no? Compared to
Yes,
someone
grabe.
like me
Araw-araw.
sitting at home. Sila araw-araw, they're getting some dosage of the virus.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh,
Ganun talaga, para silang mga sundalo na talagang nasa war front sila eh.
So, what was the parang ano yung pakiramdam? Was it like a normal flu? You've had a normal flu before, no? You parang masakit yung muscles, hindi ka makatayo, general
No,
weakness.
I didn't have aching muscles. I had a fever for about 10 days. I had pneumonia, and then I couldn't go to sleep for a couple of nights, which was the real pits. No?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then I started getting delirious because of sleep deprivation, and I was getting weak from the disease and from the medication, and I was starting to get really paranoid about dying. And then I felt like I was dying, and I wrote my will in my journal. And then it got to the point, and you're isolated, you're all alone. Hindi ako makakain, hindi ako
Mhm.
makatulog. I was feeling weak. I was afraid my heart couldn't take it because I wasn't able to rest,
Mhm.
and there was also a risk of cardiac arrest because of the medication, because of the chloroquine.
Mhm.
That's one of the possible side effects. And then I still had a fever. I mean, it was all of these things combining to, it was giving me visions of death. I started seeing people who have died. I saw my parents who have died, and I thought, wow, this is a sign of something dreadful. Thought it was already an omen of my own end. So, I called up my wife, nagpapaalam na ako, um, you know, uh, bibili na ako. So it got to that point, and my wife, of course, tried to stay calm and stay, no, you'll make it, and then she walked me through some meditation exercises.
Mhm.
She said this is mostly mental. No, you can overcome the physical with the power of your mind, and so she made me calm down through these meditation exercises where she made me think of good thoughts and good memories and good sensations. Eventually nawala yung images of death, and I fell asleep finally. So I owe that to her, and it also shows that the mind is capable of a lot of things. um, I really thought that it brought me back from the brink because I was suffering so much. I was so panicked that if I wasn't going to die, I felt maybe I should just end my life because it was such a I was in such a horrible situation. But you know, I didn't know then that I could easily bounce back. And all it took was meditation and concentration, and um, with some help from my wife, and now I'm here. I'm back at home.
So, well, thankfully that's what happened, no? And it really points to fact that parang emotional connection is really important, and your lowered stress levels and mental strength is important in combating this disease.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. This is, I think that's overlooked, no, because so much is focused on the medical treatment, on the equipment,
Right.
and frontliners, and the drugs. And so much of it is really
Right.
mental.
And I mean, we're lucky now, no? This happened in. Oh, is that a cat?
Oh my God,
is,
that's loud.
is there a cat living in your apartment or?
It's downstairs. It's actually outside in our garden. Wait, hold on. Let me check. Let me check. I'll show you my window.
Oh, nice.
Charlie, Charlie. Charlie. Kawawa naman. I don't know what's ailing him. Um, maybe he's just hungry.
So this is you were in the hospital for 10 days, was it?
9 days.
9 days.
9 days.
9 days. So going back to that, no, parang emotional and
Wait. Let me ask. Gab, ano nangyari sa pusa? Saan? Sa sa bakuran? Ngayon okay na? Good. Thank you, Kawawa naman. Yeah, okay.
naipit.
Naipit na ang paa.
Naipit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, kawawa naman. Okay.
Kawawa. Yeah.
Ano hindi napili?
Yeah. So, parang itong emotional connection, no? Parang aren't you glad this happened in 2020? If this happened 20 years ago, getting in touch with family would have been much
Yeah.
more difficult, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Wow, I can't imagine surviving 20 years ago. Yeah, imagine. Gosh. Well, you'd have a landline in the I guess you'd have a landline in your room.
That's right. You'd have a landline in your room. But getting in touch with people now, like I can talk to you now on FaceTime or abroad, and it's still different when you
Yeah,
see
of course. It's
people
different.
face to face, and that's such a
Yeah.
large thing. And ang naisip ko actually ngayon is not everybody has this kind of access, no? So, like for instance, people like you would be able to call your wife because you'd have a data connection and all of that. But once this disease starts hitting the poorer members of our community, syempre yung data connection is a luxury for them, or having that they'd be completely isolated essentially from their loved ones and from people they know, and they wouldn't have that same support system that you or I would have maybe if I contracted the virus.
Yeah, that's true. That's why we gotta contain this. Eh. It's hindi pwedeng kumalat. Eh. I mean, if you notice, I don't know. The ones who, at least the ones who make the news, are not are not poor. I mean, they're middle class. They're
Right, right.
professionals. They're senators. Pero baka yun lang ang nababalitaan natin. Pero as far as I know, out of the 4,000 or so cases, I don't know of any urban poor.
Kaya nga
Or
eh.
maybe we just don't hear about them yet.
We were talking to some doctor friends in Manila, and ang sabi nga nila parang sa ngayon, karamihan daw middle class, kaya napupuno yung Medical City, St. Luke's, all of these hospitals, Makati Med, karamihan middle class, and we haven't seen the real extent of the infection yet in Manila kasi hindi pa tinatamaan yung mga uh, urban poor areas, or at least hindi sila pumupunta sa mga hospital. So they're reserves of this virus if ever, no?
Yeah, yeah.
So parang this is sort of unprecedented. I mean you've lived a long life. You've gone through essentially martial law, Marawi, all sorts of disasters, covering them and also living through them, no? How do you think this is different this time? I mean, this is obviously a global event, and as someone who covers the news and makes the news, what would be your opinions on this?
Well, this is a crisis you can't flee. You know, you can flee a war, you can flee almost anything else. Um, I mean, you can flee ordinary epidemics, outbreaks, you know, just go far enough. Here, you can't go anywhere.
That's right.
That's why you just have to stay put. And even in your own home, if there's somebody infectious, you could also get it. I mean, yun ang nangyari sa Italy, di ba?
Mm,
Because people live with their parents. Um, the virus quickly spread among old people, and that's how a lot of them died. They got infected by family members, and this has been a story in a lot of countries.
right. But I think maybe in the Philippines, yung demographic natin medyo mas bata, you know. We skew to maybe 40 and below in general is the larger volume of our population. So do you think that will maybe, I mean, maybe it might affect our outcomes a little bit better, or might be a little worse? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't want to be speculating on that because we have a long way to go.
Yeah, we
Diba?
have a long way to go, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I'm hoping that we're also an island nation. So each of those little islands, they're kind of
Isolated.
yeah, they're already isolated. They're quarantined, and it's difficult to travel from one island to another,
Right.
especially if there's no transport. You can't swim or you can't walk. So, kung walang infection dun sa mga isla na yan, at least you've got those
Little pockets.
havens.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got those havens from the virus, no? So, those people at least are protected.
Right. And
Yeah, so that's our big advantage. Of course, people in the cities are very vulnerable.
mm, yeah, I was actually talking to a few friends on parang what's next, no? Ano ba yung next dito sa virus na to, and looking at how we can restart our economy. And yun nga, that came up, you know, us being islands essentially helps in the recovery process. So if we're able to clear certain islands of the disease, those islands can go back to normal life as they know it, essentially. As long as yung Manila, of course, will take a while before that
Oh
comes
yeah,
back.
matagal pa Manila. Yeah, this is going to take. People are saying we're not going back to normal until there's a vaccine.
Yeah, so parang
And
next year pa yun, no?
yeah, there might not be a vaccine for a while.
Right. Yeah, and it's difficult time for everyone, and parang they at some point, especially for the urban poor, the like disclosure is not tenable for them. No? Parang they're not able to really stay at home. More people will starve after 2 months of not working. And when they go back, and when things go back to normal, a lot of businesses will be out of business, essentially. There will be no jobs to go back to. So
That's true.
that's something that we have to also be looking at for the future.
That's
Um,
true.
yeah. So maybe I won't take so much of your time. I know you're recovering, and thank you so much for the time you've given for this series. We'll do another one
Yeah,
later on,
yeah,
no?
yeah,
When you're better
yeah. Let me
recovered and
know.
all that. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me know. Or I'll let you know.
Yeah, just let me know. Ano
Yeah.
naman,
Anyway,
dito
wala
lang naman
naman
ako
tayo
sa
masyadong.
bahay.
Yeah, wala naman tayo masyadong ginagawa, and I really don't mind talking about this and other topics. Gets my mind off certain things, and it, you know, uh, I feel I'm being productive,
Right.
and we have a few things in common. So I covered the Cordillera as a reporter for a lot of years.
That's right. That's right. I actually wanted to ask you about this. No? So this is something, a topic for the next in this series.
Yeah, I've interviewed Balweg. I don't know if you know
Wow.
Balweg.
Yes, of course, of
Balweg.
course. You know the
Yeah,
gun, the sipat that they
yeah.
gave.
Oo, sa Mount
I've
Data.
I've actually held that. I was in. I did some research more than 10 years ago in Botbot in Kalinga, and I lived in the village for mga 1 month, and
Yeah, taga
they had
doon
a gun there.
si Makliing Dulag, di ba?
Yes, dun siya. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'd be very interested to hear yung Cordillera stories mo. So especially for someone with so much experience, no? Dito. You've seen
Yeah,
Sagada in the
yeah,
old days.
I well, Sagada, yeah. I used to visit William Henry Scott.
Oh wow. Wow, that's something.
Yeah,
I've read all his books.
yeah. I used to have dinner with him, and
Oh
guy, what
wow.
a character! He was such a character. He was so irreverent, and walang
Oh,
sinasanto yun.
I'd love to hear that.
And yeah, yeah. In fact, he would tell me about his books, especially yung Barangay. No, he was working on that before he died, and it was published posthumously.
Mhm.
And he would talk about that
Right.
over dinner. I've walked quite a bit in the Cordillera. I once walked from Kiangan to Buguyas.
Oh really?
Yeah, I
I've
walked that.
I've done that trek in 2001, I think. But from Pulag to Kiangan, the other way around. You did it
Yeah,
coming back to Bugyas. Yeah.
yeah,
Through
yeah.
Tinok, no? Through Tinok. Is that correct?
Yes, Tinok.
Tinok.
Tinok,
Yeah.
exactly. Tinok. At saka, doon ako nakakita ng mga NPA. And
Right.
a lot of marijuana.
Right. That is a Tinok.
Uh,
Ahin.
yeah,
I think that was the place where the marijuana was. But
ahin, yeah,
yeah.
ahin.
But you know what?
Ahin. Yeah, they don't pronounce the S.
I passed through there last January, and that trail is now a paved highway. Sobrang gulat ako eh. Parang, oh,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
trail is like a paved highway.
Yeah. Well, back then when I was there, like in the 1990s, there was of course no road. It was like the only town in Ifugao that had no roads.
Right. Tinok, it's
The
this
only
little
way you could
hole,
go
di ba?
there is through
Parang,
these trails.
yeah. It's such a beautiful village. I remember the first time I went there, 2000, I think, or 99. And we came from Pulag, climb up this ridge from the river, and you cross the ridge, and then there's this bowl that you can see, and it's Tinok. It's like this little city in the middle of the mountains with with schools and
Yeah,
buildings.
I never saw it from that perspective kasi Pulag is high, Uh, yeah, I walked that alone. I was solo.
Oh, solo! Wow.
Yeah, yeah,
Was it for work or just?
yeah. It was for work. It was for work. I saw on the map, uh, the DPWH map, that there were
Mhm.
all these roads in the Cordillera, and people were telling me, like some mayors were telling me, hindi totoo yan. Walang kalsada, kumbaga ghost roads, no? And I decided to ground truth,
The road.
yeah, whether these roads really existed. And one of those places I went to was Tinok, because parang on the map there was a road that was leading to Tinok, I think, and people were telling me no, that's not true, and it wasn't.
It was a
I
trail.
was able to prove. I was able to prove that these roads didn't exist. So that's why I did it. And as I was working for a newspaper back then, and I didn't have to be with anyone. I took my own photos. And if you're traveling alone, you meet people along the way. People
Mhm.
who will help you carry your bags.
Right.
People who will guide you. People who will, you know, give you a room. There was one time I stayed in the hut of a teacher,
Mhm.
like deep in the interior. Another time I arrived at a village and they were having this kanyao.
Mhm.
Really interesting stuff. So you're not really that alone. You're
Yeah.
constantly
Yeah.
meeting people, and
It's a highway,
people
no?
are very
Parang
friendly.
that's something about the Cordillera. When I was trekking in those areas before, even alone, there's always someone you'll meet. There's a house somewhere. They'll offer you kamote. Um, a lot of these different experiences. But when you pass through that trail, that's a really long trek. It's like a 12-hour hike from Kiangan to Tinok. Did you do that in one day or?
No, cutting trip yan. I,
Uh,
I can't recall. I can't recall where I actually stopped.
yeah, because there's
Um,
hardly any villages in between. There's small houses and there's maybe two main villages in between that whole stretch of trail. And then madaming limatic yan, di ba?
this is so long ago that I can't recall anymore. I should have. I took some pictures, and I remember walking. We were like walking. We were just jumping from boulders, one
Wow.
boulder to another on the river,
Oh, you
and
passed through
then
the river pa. Okay.
yeah, my river, and then we were on this ledge, walking on this trail that was directly above the river canyon. Parang they called it the Spanish Trail, the old Spanish Trail.
I know this. I've passed through that one. That from Kiangan to Tinok, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes.
And that's wow. That's a gorgeous walk. I
Yeah,
mean,
amazing, right?
it's amazing. You're high up there, and below is the river, and
And you pass through this, it's like a forest, like a dense, basically a dense forest.
yeah, yeah. Forest talaga yan, and
Yeah.
wow, it's coming back. Uh, it was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. It's an epic. It was an epic journey. I was alone. I had a mission,
How old were
and
you when you did this?
let me see. How old was I? God, I'm trying to remember the year. I might have been 30,
Oh, wow.
30, and I'm 58 now. So that's a long time ago. 30
Yeah.
years ago? Gosh.
And that time,
Wait.
just getting to Kiangan was difficult. No? It wasn't an easy trip from Manila to get from Manila to Kiangan.
Yeah, well, I didn't think it was that difficult. In those days, I
It was a
went
bus
I,
ride.
I would go to Ifugao quite a bit, and
Mhm.
I'd go to Hungduan.
Oh, Hongdoan. That's even further in.
That's right. So
Right.
I'd go to Hungduan quite a bit. That's where I started doing a lot of walking. Barangay Bangbang and
Bang Bang. Yeah.
Hungduan, Hapao.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, those were amazingly beautiful places. And I covered the insurgency in Cordillera. That's why I was going to Hungduan.
Ah. So you
That
covered
was the
the
hotbed.
CPLA, no? Tama ba? Tama.
No, the NPA.
Oh, the NPA. Okay.
Yeah, NPA na nun eh. Yung CPLA, they weren't really in Ifugao eh. The CPLA was mostly in Abra, Mountain
Kalinga.
Province,
Right.
Kalinga,
Mm-hmm.
but Ifugao is mostly NPA.
Mm-hmm.
And there were some fierce firefights there. I'd go there, I interviewed them, and um, yeah, there are people there I met have gotten killed, that were killed. But I used to go there a lot. I covered NPA, but also development issues.
Mm-hmm.
I did a documentary in the 1980s on goiter
Oh,
in the
goiter. That
Cordilleras.
that used to be quite prevalent here.
Yeah, yeah, and including yung tinatawag nila monstrous goiter, really big.
Mm-hmm.
The more remote, the bigger the goiter.
Because they're further
The
from the
the
sea
sea.
and yeah.
Yeah, and so we had to hike really far distances to find these people, and and for the most part, very, 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 very few people were able to document. These people are never photographed or videotaped, and
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of people, for a lot of viewers, it was really the very first time that they saw this kind of thing.
Right. Especially
So
in the 80s, no?
yeah, the 80s, and then it wasn't easy also to penetrate these areas because of the insurgency. In fact, when sometimes we'd be walking at night, we'd have flashlights, pinagkakamanang kaming rebelde.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We'd be carrying around tripods and equipment, and
That's right.
we'd be a fairly big group of like 20 people with flashlights.
Oo nga.
So delikado.
Ang lalaki pa ng
Delikado
camera
talaga.
nung time na yon, no?
Yeah, we'd be in a very remote place, kami lang. And there would be these army detachments and army patrols and kafgu. And we wouldn't know that we were in danger because we didn't know people were watching us.
Mm.
We'd only find out later on that
Yes. Sasabihin na
we
lang
were
sa inyo sa
suspected.
villages,
Yeah, that we were suspected. And so those were the days, no? Talaga mainit pa yung Cordy noon. Buhay pa si Balweg, he was still very active. Yung NPA was very active. And then, of course, the Kafgus were very active in fighting back. So, I have a lot of memories. And, I still go back. I've done several documentaries about Sagada. I did this documentary about the wild horses of Sagada. I've done, let me see, I've done various stories about Sagada, pottery in Sagada.
Oh, Sigrid. Yeah.
Yeah, Sigrid. But even before Sigrid, I used to visit the Guzman family.
Ah, okay.
I don't know if you remember them. They were a big family of potters from the lowlands, and they were, I think they were among the first to discover that Sagada had good clay.
Ah, okay.
So they went up there and they built a kiln, and they basically introduced pottery to Sagada long before
Mm.
Sigrid, long before Archie, or
Yeah, I
anybody
remember
else.
there was a couple of foreigners as well, right? That were doing pottery in Sagada, like a Belgian or
Yeah, I think that was Archie. I
all
don't know.
right. Yeah.
Archie, I think, is an American. Um, I'm not sure, but word got around that the clay was really good,
Mm-hmm.
and yun. So it kind of became popular. I just regret not having any Sagada pottery from those days. I mean,
Right.
I could have easily gotten pottery. Um, medyo mabigat lang ibaba eh. So,
Yeah. Lalo nung time na yon, rough
uh,
road pa
I,
lahat, 'di
I,
ba?
uh,
So baka pagdating mo sa Manila,
so now I
basag
don't
na.
have any Sagada pottery. Well, I do have Sagada pottery I bought recently from Sigrid and
Yeah.
others. Yung pottery center doon, I
Mm-hmm.
buy. And even here in Manila, I buy.
Mm.
So I have mugs, I've got some plates, etc. But the Guzman pottery, sayang eh. Kasi
Wala na sila
they
ngayon
weren't,
yata eh, no? Parang I
they
don't
were,
hear about
they
them.
weren't here that long. Yeah, they're, well, most of them have moved to the States. Jaime, you probably know Jaime de Guzman.
Mm-hmm.
He's the painter, and he lives in Candelaria, Quezon.
Ah, okay, okay. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, well, thank you so much for this, and hopefully we can do another one. Your life is super interesting, and I think probably fill up more than 4 episodes of this or 5 episodes of this, even more. And yeah, thank you for telling the story of your being patient number 2828, and I look forward to hearing more of the stories with Cordilleras, and especially since I've grown up here, I've trekked some of the same places that you've trekked, and that's something I'm really looking forward to. And yeah, please rest well. I'd like
Yeah,
to hear
thanks. Oh,
more.
by the way, one of my last trips to Kalinga was to Lubuagan.
Ah, Lubwagan. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been there as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
That,
You know what? I'll send you some links to some of these documentaries.
sige, sige.
Yeah, you might want to show them to your guests or when you have
I can put them
event.
on. I can put them on the link actually when I published it when I publish your podcast. I can put the links to all of these
Sige, sige.
documentaries.
Yeah, I'll send these to you. You might want to, we might want to talk about some of these topics. Um, yeah, I'll look them up and then send you some links so you can check them out.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, okay, sige. All right, take care.
All right. Take care. Take care of yourself.
Talk to you again.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. So that was such an interesting discussion, and really, we're only covering such a small part of what Howie Severino is all about. And I think after listening to the whole discussion, listening to the whole podcast, there's a few things that sort of stood out for me. One of those things is that people like Howie, they're basically they're big hard drives of information, they're big hard drives of experience, and we really need to start looking at conserving, preserving, and recording all of these expertise, all of this experience, because COVID-19, unfortunately, is a generational disease. It's going to affect certain generations on Earth. People from the 50s to their 80s are going to be adversely affected about this, and we're going to lose all of these people, um, possibly lose all these people in a way, and they're storehouses of information, and we really need to preserve the information they have, record it, and so that talk about it, so that other people will know, other people will learn from these experiences, other people will know that people like these existed. They have so much expertise and so much to share to the world that we need to just talk to our forefathers, essentially. Second, here is really looking at how isolated people are who are affected by COVID-19. And that's not just the people like Howie who are essentially COVID-19 survivors. Like he said, it's a very lonely disease, and it's something. So I think the easiest thing we can do is to reach out to people who are affected by this adversity, people with the disease, the doctors, the nurses, the frontliners. Don't ostracize them from society. We've seen the news reports where people are not allowed to go home. People are uh, ostracized from their families voluntarily. Doctors, nurses, they voluntarily stay in tents or stay in other locations so as not to bring the disease to their families. And it's very isolating. It's a very lonely disease, as Howie was saying. And we really need to look at the emotional aspect of this disease and how we can lower that. We're lucky that it's happened now in 2020. We're able to do Zoom, we're able to do FaceTime, WhatsApp. We have all the technology to keep in touch while maintaining social distancing. And I think uh, allowing ourselves to show compassion to everyone who's going through this is important to move forward as a community. And third, well, there's going to be a part two for this episode for sure. As you probably noticed towards the end, there was still so much that Howie wanted to share. And because we don't want to tire him out after his, COVID-19 recovery, we'll be talking to him again, hopefully in the next week, and talking to him about this, his experiences, his life. It's such a rich life, and I think it needs to be recorded, needs to be talked about, needs to be heard. And we look forward to sharing all of this with all of you. Thank you. On the next podcast.